Hello everybody, welcome to Portugal, where I've come to sun myself for a week. It's now 2 weeks after my calf injury, so I'm still hobbling around, but I've still got the running spirit on. I've got my Christmas flavoured t-shirt on, which I thought was in the spirit, and I've still got 2 watches on, so I'm very much in the spirit of running, even if I can't run. I think it'll be another good 4 weeks yet before I can. Anyway, so since I haven't been running for about 2 weeks, I've been able to do a bit more work on Power of 10 and Run Bit and Rankings that I run. They're 2 sites in the UK which show all the results and rankings for all the running and athletics events that happen in the country. So one of the things I often look at is my own times, and maybe just to reflect on past glories, I don't know, but often quite good as a test bed. And one of the things I sort of look at, where did I used to rank in my marathon? Well, my best marathon was 2:33.53 in 2005, and that got me 83rd in the country that year. I think it was the only time I ever made the top 100 in a senior list, so I was quite proud of that achievement. And then I was looking at, well, how did that rank me more recently? And I saw in 2016, I was literally 100 places lower. So instead of being 83rd, I was in 183rd. I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe that's the shoes. But then I was like, hold on a sec, well, those new 4% shoes didn't actually come out until the year after. So, well, if we think the shoes have improved times, then it can't be down to just that. So what other factors were going on? So I thought in this video, I'll sort of take a look at this sort of stuff and have a look, delve into the stats a bit more to see the general sort of apparent upswing in fortunes of marathon distance running in the UK in the last 10 years, and see what that can be reflected to. Because I did know by 2019 I'd fallen by almost another 100 places, so maybe that was partly the shoes. But having said that, the next percent really didn't come out until sort of the midsummer of 2019, so maybe it wasn't entirely that either. So let's go inside and have a look at some graphs. Hello everybody, I'm back indoors now, and what I'm showing here is a graph of what I was talking about in my introduction. This is my 2005 marathon PB of 2:33.53. So I worked out how many people made that standard in the UK each year, from which I've got data in Power of 10 from 2003 to the present day. And I've also included what I thought was a vaguely similar standard of exactly 3 hours for women, which is quite a good number to see in itself. So the blue shaded background is the male times, and the women is the purple. And then instantly you can see that there's a very similar sort of correlation between the two. So showing that the upward graph of both is very similar. So if we look here, 2005, when I did my marathon PB of 2:33.53, I was 83rd, hence the number 83 there. And as I mentioned, by 2016, that had crept up to 183. And in 2019, that got as high as 274. Now, if you actually think about standards improving due to shoes, well, the Vaporfly 4% didn't actually come out until 2017. So very few people would have actually used it in that year at all. But you can already see in the years leading up to when these new carbon fibre plated shoes were introduced, the standards are very much on the increase anyway. So if we now move along to a similar graph, but this time I'm looking at the good for age standards. So for men, it's 3 hours exactly, and women 3 hours 45. This is obviously for seniors, but it seems like a good round number. So again, the shaded blue graph is the men, and the bars, the purple bars, are the women. So you can see a very similar trend upwards from 2009, when they first had enough data to plot this graph, to last year, with of course the big old drop off this year to COVID, unfortunately, with so few actual races going on. We are only actually including actual races within Power of 10. But again, you can see that before the 4% shoes were introduced in 2017, already this trend line was going up. So what I also wanted to find out is what was the actual usage of these new carbon-plated shoes, with the 4% Vaporfly appearing in 2017 and the next percent appearing in the middle of 2019, with a load of shoes coming out this year. I'm in a Facebook group of sub-3 marathon runners, so I put out a poll and had 205 people reply, and asked them when was the first time you used a carbon fibre plated racing shoe in a marathon. And these are basically the responses. And what I've done here is the blue solid line is basically a cumulative percentage of the number of when people first started using it. So when the 4% came out in July 2017, Very few people actually used it for the ultra marathons. Literally only 1% of the 205 people that replied to say they'd done a race. That total only very gradually increased through 2018. By the end of 2018, only 9% of these runners polled had actually used that type of shoe. 2019 saw the biggest increase last year, but still and only got to 41%. And interestingly, pretty much 50% of the correspondents hadn't actually used that type of shoe yet. Now, I didn't actually ask whether they intended to in the future, but it's interesting. I thought that percentage of usage, which is now pretty much bang on 50% with a few races that happened this year, not perhaps as prevalent as I might have thought, given how quickly these shoes sell out. So a very similar graph here. This is the championship standards for London, which have been traditionally 2 hours 45 for men and 3 hours 15 for women. I think there's some difference for the 2021 race, but this is another example of how these upward trends are happening. Bit of a dip in 2018, but certainly with the biggest rise in 2019. But already you can see that by sort of 2010, 2011, they're very much on an upward trend, isn't it? And this graph perhaps also shows why for 2021 they've reduced the male standard to 240, because just slightly more people doing 245 than there are women doing 315. But again, very similar correlation between both genders on the upward trend. Just looking quickly at elite standards, which I've defined to be sub 220 men and 245 women. These are the people that basically are the pro runners that will line up with the likes of Kipchoge and Bekele if they were running. So the numbers here are quite small. We're talking typically of the order of 10 to 20 runners each year. But even then, we're still seeing very much a bit of an upward trend in the numbers, with a whole 29 men under 220 last year and 39 women under 245. And unfortunately, the big drop off in 2020, but I hope that will recover when times get back to normal, whenever that might be. So if we go back to my graph, well, what can we make of all these reasons? Well, I thought in this video, I'd just sort of put out the data really and open it up for discussion. Well, I thought one big factor could be that the increase in parkrun over this time. Interestingly, parkrun pretty much started around the left edge of this graph in 2004. I think it's really helped to make running much more popular than it ever was. I mean, running was popular back in 2005 when I did my best marathon times, but I don't think anything like that it currently is, with so many people out running, and with running much more in people's mindset, I think, as an exercise form. If I were to plot a graph of parkrun participation over these years, you would see a much more upwards trending graph, but very similar upwards trending graph to this one. So is there a correlation between the number of people parkrunning and these fairly reasonably high standards of running? I'd be delighted to see in the comments what do you think are the other reasons for this upward trend in marathon standards in the UK, and the very welcome sight that it is. Okay, I hope you found this interesting and look forward to seeing you on the next one then. Bye.